Desert solitude and a stranger's arrival. In a remote corner of the desert frontier, where the sun scorched the land and silence stretched for miles, lived a young widow named Zainab. Her small wooden house stood alone, surrounded by nothing but sand, thorns, and memories. Her husband, Hamza, had died 1 year ago, shot by a bounty hunter who claimed he was an outlaw. But Zainab knew the truth. Hamza was no criminal. He was a kind, hard-working man who had been falsely accused and hunted down like an animal. Zainab spent her days tending a small garden, collecting water from a nearby well, and stitching clothes for nearby travelers who rarely passed. Nights are the hardest. The wind howled through the cracks in the walls, and the silence reminded her of what she had lost. Often, she would stare at the door, wishing Hamza would walk through it one more time. Then, one stormy evening, as thunder cracked across the sky and the desert wind screamed like ghosts, someone knocked at her door. Startled, Zainab grabbed the small lantern and cautiously opened it. A blood-soaked man collapsed at her feet. Without thinking, her instincts took over. She dragged him inside, closed the door against the storm, and laid him down. His shoulder was badly wounded, and a bullet had grazed his ribs. She cleaned his wounds, tore pieces from her shawl to bandage him, and stayed by his side through the night. When morning came, the stranger opened his eyes. His voice was hoarse when he whispered, "Where am I?" "You're safe," Zainab replied quietly. "This is my home. You were injured. I helped you." The man tried to sit up, but the pain held him down. "You shouldn't have helped me," he muttered. "People like me don't deserve kindness." Zainab didn't ask questions. She simply brought him water and soup. He was a stranger, but a life was a life. In the days that followed, she cared for him without ever asking his name. He said little, mostly resting, healing, but his eyes watched her, filled with a strange mix of guilt and wonder. What Zainab didn't know was that this man, this wounded stranger, was Kashif, the very bounty hunter who had killed her husband. He had never seen Zainab before, and she hadn't seen the face of Hamza's killer. The desert had hidden many truths. As the days passed, Kashif began to feel something inside him shift. The woman he had once unknowingly widowed was now saving his life. Her kindness, her silence, and her strength were unlike anything he had ever known. But the truth always waits, and it was coming closer. Revelation and the test of forgiveness. Days passed, and the wounded bounty hunter, Kashif, was almost fully healed. Zainab continued to care for him without ever asking who he truly was. Her quiet strength and gentle heart reminded him of a world he had long forgotten. For years, Kashif had hunted men for money. He never asked questions. He followed orders, collected rewards, and moved on. But now, each moment in Zainab's home chipped away at the armor around his heart. One afternoon, while Zainab was away gathering herbs, Kashif wandered into a corner of the house he hadn't explored. On a small shelf, tucked between folded fabrics, he found an old wooden box. Out of curiosity, and perhaps guilt, he opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them, written in a careful hand. Some were stained with tears, others faded with age. One had a small photograph attached, a smiling man with kind eyes. Kashif froze. It was Hamza. He remembered that face. He remembered pulling the trigger. He remembered the look of confusion on the man's face as he died, never knowing why. His knees buckled. The box fell from his hands, scattering letters across the floor. He sat among them, shaking. Zainab returned moments later. She saw the mess, the photo in his hand, the color drained from his face. "Who is he to you?" Kashif asked, though he already knew. Zainab's voice was soft but firm. "My husband. He was killed by a bounty hunter. They said he was a criminal, but he was innocent." Kashif looked at her, eyes full of shame. "It was me," he said, barely louder than a whisper. "I killed him. I didn't know. I didn't ask questions. I just did what I was paid to do." Zainab stood still, her face pale, her eyes locked on his. Silence stretched between them like a blade. Finally, she spoke. "All this time, I cared for you. I fed you. I bandaged the same hands that ended my husband's life." Kashif bowed his head. "I don't expect forgiveness. I only stayed alive because of your kindness." If you want justice, I won't run. Zainab's eyes welled with tears, but her voice didn't shake. I should hate you. I should turn you in. But what will that change? My husband is gone, and you've already been punished. You carry this guilt. It will never leave you. She stepped forward, picked up one of the letters from the floor, and placed it back in a box. You took everything from me, she said, but I won't let you take what little I have left, my humanity. Kashif stood and faced her. What should I do now? Leave, Zainab said, and never forget what you've done. Spend the rest of your life making it right, if you can. He nodded, unable to speak, and walked out the door into the fading light of the desert. Zainab watched him go, the wind brushing her face like a whisper from the past. She turned back to her quiet home, still alone, still grieving, but unbroken. She had faced her pain. She had shown mercy where no one expected it. And that was strength greater than revenge.